you are one of few people on here who has a big personality. Now, a personality is something that I think you can't just manufacture. You can't just learn little persuasion tricks and all of a sudden have a personality. It's something you earned from work, from, from hardship, from, actually having a life outside of the internet. So it's like, with this, I would really like to learn how you became who you are today. And yeah, if you can just jump in, start riffing, that would be great.
Sure. I guess you could kind of say that my philosophy has always been this sort of, I guess you could call it poisonous optimism of this sort of idea that if you want to grow, you have to put yourself under extreme challenges. And one of the best examples I can give you is that weightlifting was a sport that I chose because of the difficulty level. Weightlifting is an art form, the particular one that I'm in, which is the snatch and the clean and jerk.
Oh, wow.
Essentially what it is, it's a very athletic way of expressing your power. And so I joined one of the best gyms in the country. And the first day I got there, the coach, who was a big shot, he had a bunch of Olympians. He had a long resume of coaching a lot of world champions. He wanted to see what I could do. So he asked me to show him the lifts. And at this point, everything that I had learned, which was just a cursory knowledge, was just knowledge that I had gained through my own experience. I had practiced the lifts on my own, which are very difficult. And I would just examine my own video footage. And that's how I kind of sculpted myself to have somewhat of a proficiency in the lifts. So day one, he puts me on the spot. I show him what I got. He laughs at me basically. And he's like, look, you're going to have to come do coaching with me. It's the only way I'll let you in the gym is if you take one-on-one training. Everybody else at the gym has to do one-on-one training with me. It's the only way I'll let you lift. And I paused and I kind of looked at him and I was like, how about I pay you the same fee to coach me for you to just leave me alone and let me lift and let me figure it out by myself. And he kind of looked at me cockeyed and we went back and forth and eventually he agreed. So I came to this gym, he let me pay the fee and I worked on my own every day. And I watched his athletes and his athletes were decent. But what I noticed is that the guys would come in, they would do about 15 minutes of work, 20 minutes of work, and they would take breaks and then they would take days off and come in. And for me, if common sense always told me, if you want to get really physically strong, more work equals more results. It's pretty simple. So my philosophy was to come in twice a day to get as strong as I could, work out every day, no days off, and just get as strong as possible. So obviously I was an outcast straight away. I sort of was a pariah. And what happened is within a year of doing this, I caught up to his best guy. Within 1 year of attacking multiple times a day, no rest days. Obviously, there's a lot of other components. Sleep, sun, nutrition is a huge component. But within 2.5 years, I had snatched 300 pounds, which put me in the top 1% in the country. And I guess the takeaway from it is that everybody wants permission to proceed in life. Everyone wants a pat on the back. They want encouragement. They always need validation and to know that they're okay. And the reality is you're not okay, but you will be if you just truck forward. And so I sort of developed this sort of cultish sort of passion with the sport just because I wanted to see how far I could take it. And it's interesting because weightlifting, ultimately the numbers don't matter. But for me, being able to accomplish that was just a mindset that is carried over in every aspect of my life. I've always been extremely fascinated with people who put themselves under extreme pressure and overcome. And so this led me into a sales mindset where I sort of figured out that, see, people are very wasteful with their energy. People they compartmentalize everything. They think, oh, I need to allot 1 hour of sunshine. I need to allot another hour for gym. I need to allot another hour for work. But when you blend it all together and you make it seamless and you are outdoors and you're lifting and you're training and you're doing your calls while you're training, you just knocked out 4 hours of time and everything's done. And then you realize, fuck, I have 20 hours left in the day to do whatever the fuck I want to do. So it just became this hyper efficient way of getting things done. And see, when you're lifting heavy, it's a very dramatic process. That's part of what I loved about it. It became sort of this daily ritual of waking up and realizing that it's warfare. Because when I'm going in the gym, I'm taking big jumps. I'm starting with 100 pounds. Then I jump to 200. Then I jump to 250. Then I jump to 300. I'm taking huge jumps. It's a very theatrical, very dramatic. You have to really enjoy conflict.
Where was it that you developed this mindset before you started lifting? Because to say to a guy, no, man, I'm going to do it myself. Here's your fee anyway. That takes a certain level of intensity and a total belief in yourself, which very few people have. Like you said, everybody's looking for the validation. Everyone's looking for the pat on the back, to say, yes, you can. So to have that, even just at the start of your lifting career, to me says a lot about your character. It says a lot about your mindset. Where did that come from?
You know, I grew up with very poor role models in my life. I never had any guidance. I never had any male figures that I looked up to. I've always been kind of a lone wolf. I've always had to sort of carve a space for myself. I didn't come from a good family, so I didn't have good teachers in my life. And so I always took the hardcore route. Everything that I did, I tried to take shortcuts. I tried to find the most difficult way to do things. And I found that the harder, if I put my life on hardcore mode, because everybody wants to take the easy way. When I put my life on hardcore mode and I set my boundaries to go as hard at something as possible from the beginning, I learned 10 times faster than everybody else. So it's like when I learned to play poker, I didn't sit down at the 1-3 game. I bought into the 10-20 game. And it's like when you throw yourself into the wolves, there's only one result. You're never going to die. People think the reason people don't pursue their dreams and pursue their passions is because they're afraid if they fail, they're going to die. You're never going to die. What's going to happen is you're forced to transform. And people are terrified of their own transformation, and they will do anything to avoid that process. It's not death. Everybody, go ahead.
So do you think like everyone's too scared of? They're so scared that they're almost trapped by their comfort.
100%. And that's really the problem with modern life is everybody has their air conditioning running. Everybody wants to sleep on a soft surface. And it creates this very soft mind of everybody wants the easy way out. But see, that's why, like, even in business, the mindset from lifting translates so perfectly. One of the things that happened is with this weightlifting mindset that I achieved, what I would do, and I even had a tweet about this, I checked into a hotel when I was very broke. And my mission was to see how long I could last in a hotel with nothing and see if I could survive. And most people would think if you're broke and you don't have a place to live and you have to move into a hotel, you go to the cheapest hotel and you skimp and you go cheap. But it's the opposite. I checked into a 4-star hotel that was $350 a night. I prepaid 1 week in advance, and I gave myself a 7-day head start. I was selling timepieces at the time, very high-end watches, Rolexes, Audemars, things of that nature. When I went to sleep at night, it occurred to me that every person in the hotel that I was staying at, above me, below me, to the left of me, to the right of me, was a client. Everybody at that hotel could afford the product that I was selling. Every single person in the hotel. And so people that are sleeping 5 feet from me in the next wall are an option for me to sell to. And so what happened is every morning I'd wake up, go lift, come back to the hotel, stay by the pool all day long, which was on a rooftop, tip all of the bus boys, all the servers, take really good care of all the service workers. And then what happened is eventually I had such rapport and such a good reputation upstairs. I started bringing all the clients, all the hotel people. I started chilling with them by the pool. Next week, I'm hawking watches, selling incredible timepieces. Had a buddy of mine who would front me the money on some of my sales. I would pay him 20%. I would eat 20% off the top just so I could pay the hotel room. And I just got myself into an absolute environment where I was thriving. I mean,
beautiful.
Hand over fist money coming in because I
100.
chose the most difficult, hardcore option.
Yep. So, you know, I did something similar when I was like 16. I had a marketing mentor in Thailand. 16, 17, had $600 to my name. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to go to Thailand, $600. Didn't really have any skills, but forcing yourself in a position where you either eat or starve, and it's directly correlated to your effort, makes you grow faster than literally anything. You know, if you don't produce, you don't eat. This is a mindset very, very few people, a position most people are scared of. But if they want to get their income from bang, bang, it's by far the fastest way.
100%. And here's the thing. When you have to put food on your own table every day, and that rent is due every day at the front desk. I had to show up by 5 p.m. to re-up my room. When I'm making a sale, I need you to say yes far more than you need to say no. And that energy is palpable on the phone. It is palpable. I mean, I was an animal on these sales calls because I knew by 5 p.m. I needed a deal closed so I could get to the front desk and charge it to the room. And it's funny because when it comes to sales, logic is your enemy. People think logic is the solution to sales. It's not. The more somebody needs a product, the harder it is to sell. It's like a Lamborghini is the most absurd product in the world. And the people that are buying a Lamborghini know it's absurd. That's why it's so easy to sell, because the fantasy is so powerful. You no longer need to focus on the product. You're building a fantasy world for people that they enjoy. People love it. They love fantasy, period. And so when you're selling high-end timepieces, that's why I love high-ticket items, because the focus isn't on the watch. It's the story that I'm telling you around the watch that makes it so fucking easy to sell. So like I said, the more somebody actually needs to use a product, the more it's a necessity, the harder it is to sell.
Yep. See, when you were sat at the pool, drinking your water, doing whatever you're doing, what would you say to these guys to make them go buy a watch? How would you turn a conversation from, hey man, how are you? How long you been here for? To, bro, you've got you got to go spend $5 to 10, maybe even $20,000-$30,000 on this watch.
Well, it's nuts.
Yeah.
I had a backer who gave me some inventory to start with, some nice inventory. And so what I would do is I would be on the roof and I would go back to my vault and I would literally take the watches and I would put them on my potential customers. I would let them wear the watches and let them fuck around with it around the pool, kind of just like walk around and see how they liked it. I would get their number and then I would furiously, like, my sales tactic has always been to harass. Like, I want you to either block me or file a restraining order. Like, that's the only option. Like, if you hang up on me, I'm going to call you 10 minutes later and I'm going to pitch the exact same thing that I just pitched 10 minutes ago, but I'm going to completely reframe it and rephrase it in a way that's more palpable. That's the thing, is like, people cower and they retreat when they get a no. It's human nature. People don't want to say no.
Yeah.
That's like fundamentally, people do not like saying no to anything.
So, how many no's would you typically hear before you say yes? Because a lot of guys, I see a lot of guys in sales, they'll hear one no, and that's their confidence shattered. They're now crying alone in their room, broke, and they've given up just because one guy said, nah. When one no, that's you just starting. That's you just getting ready for the next pitch.
That's correct. It's a warm up. When someone tells me no, I feel like that's just a warm up set. We're not even close to closing this bad boy. And so it's like, that's what I'm telling you is I had to perform. I had no choice. I was dirt broke, living in a 4-star hotel. The rent was absurd, and I needed to close that deal. So I would harass people, but in a way that people, like I said, people don't want to say no. They just don't. They really don't want to. And when you need to make, when you need to make a sale, they can almost feel the energy. It's like it's the whole thing I was talking about the other day about the movement. When I'm pacing back and forth on a phone call, and you're sitting down on the other end of the line, you're at a huge disadvantage. You're at a massive disadvantage mentally, because you can feel, and like I would do this in my workout sets. I would take the hardest sales calls in my workout sets, and I would literally be breathing like a wolf on the phone. They could hear me breathing heavy. And like that kind of energy is very powerful. It can be obnoxious, but it's extraordinarily powerful when you're breathing like a wolf down somebody's throat on the phone. You're bound to just get the yes. So it's about perseverance. It's life is all about perseverance, and it's all about, like I said, that I call it that poisonous optimism, where you're close to the brink of feeling like you're about to be destroyed. You're about to lose it, but you know if you hold on and just keep trucking, you have no clue what you're actually capable of.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, were you lifting before you got into sales? Or what came first, the sales or the lifting?
The lifting. The mindset from lifting has just been an absolute tool. It's a necessity. It's automatic. As hard as it is for most people to go to the gym, that's how hard it is for me not to go to the gym, because I'm so dialed in with my performance. It's just such an automatic thing. And like I said, my conditioning, because I still train twice a day, it's a necessity, is to the point where you can get me up out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, and my central nervous system is so fired up and so primed, I can put up those numbers at any time of the day because I'm just a machine. The biggest thing for me is transcending human limitation. Yes, I bleed red like everybody else, but if you attack things in a barbaric manner, things that you want to achieve, and you attack it in a savage mindset, you almost can transcend all of your hormones, all of the emotions, all the doubt. It dissipates when you keep moving, and you funnel it and you channel it and you center it and you just attack. Attacking is the solution to everything. I can't think of one situation in life where it's adequate to retreat. Attacking seems to just be the answer. If you look at anybody who's done anything with their life, they've just constantly aggressively attacked. I just don't see another way through adversity. And I've put myself in very, very tight, difficult spots that probably no human being should put themselves in financially. I've put myself in razor thin situations with risk. There was a period of time where even when I was at the hotel, all the extra cash I would have, I would go to the poker table in games that I did not belong in, just because I wanted to understand the human psyche. When you are playing poker for extraordinarily high stakes, it's a peek into the soul of humanity. When you're watching people protect and defend their hard-earned money, it's literally a cheat code. You now have insight into the primal aspects of humanity. Poker is a game that everybody should learn to play, because you get into these zones, these very powerful zones, where you can go 2 hours straight just coasting on your intuition, because you're watching your opponent, and you cannot make a single mistake for 2 hours and just watch yourself raking in the chips based on just pure intuition. I've never been a math guy. There's a lot of guys who are very sharp. They do business with models and math. I'm all about intuition. Intuition supersedes everything in nature, especially when it comes to games of risk, of chance, when it comes to high payoff, you can't lose if you trust your intuition.
Question. So, do you think, so if you're playing poker, like when you first got into poker, would you trust your intuition then? Or did you train your intuition? This is something I've always been very curious about. Is intuition a thing that we all have, that we can all innately trust? Or is it something that you grow to trust from repetition? It's like when you go to squat, intuitively you can just did it and you're not even thinking about it. For the guy who's just started squatting, he has to think about it. He doesn't have that intuition. If he does it too fast, he may break his back. How do you develop intuition that you can trust?
It's actually a very good question. And so here's my answer to that. And the squat's actually a great example. In that same gym, the reason his athletes did not progress in the way that they could have, in my opinion, when I would watch them, is you would see these really big, strong guys put a lot of weight on the bar and they would go for a max lift. And the whole gym would be watching and they'd be fired up. And you would see they would hit a sticking point. And you could tell they had the athleticism, they had the power, they had the strength to finish the lift, but they just didn't have the mental component, and they would quit and they would drop the bar. Because learning how to fight with heavy weight is a skill all in its own right. So you can be extremely powerful and extremely strong, but learning how to fight with heavy weight is an entirely different skill set. And once you get to the point where you can learn how to fight with a heavy load on your back, that's where your intuition really kicks in. But you have to get to the point where you can push through the mental limitation, and then it's all intuition from there.
Yeah. So you think it's pushing your body so far to the point it's at the breaking point that then the intuition comes in.
100%.
Yeah. I've grew fairly good at being able to just generate nice windfalls of cash. It's what I do for clients. I run big kind of campaigns. And I developed that from being in positions where I had rent the next day. I had zero money in my bank account. And I was like, fuck, how do I make 5 to 10 grand today? Not tomorrow, but right now. And when you're in pressure like that, when you are like, oh shit, I might starve, I might be homeless tomorrow, that is when I would always find that's always when the next idea would come and the money would just pow. And I'm guessing it's the same with lifting. I'm guessing it's the same with, some guy in the comments asked how similar swooping and girls. I think they're all the same. It's like if you put yourself into a social situation where you must perform, where there's, you're with a bunch of high level people, there's a lot of hot girls, you don't have time to have social anxiety. You end up being able to say the right things because you have no other option. You either say the right things or you look like a dickhead in front of everyone.
That's literally exactly it. It's pushing, like you just said, it's pushing past the brink of the emotions, because once you pass the fear and the actual pain of the emotion, it's all intuition, but you have to break through the emotions first. And the only way to break through the emotions is to do it scared. Guys will tell me all the time, I'm scared. Okay, do it scared. Whatever it is you're trying to do it while you're afraid and watch what happens.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. So see, when you look at a lot of the younger guys on Twitter, a lot of the younger guys who are watching this right now, what do you think is the number one thing that they are lacking? Because a lot of them, I don't think they have the same intensity as you. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's lacking? And how can they gain it?
I mean, this is a pretty controversial opinion, but I'm 100% certain that 100% of people need more chaos in their life. They need to actually feel the threat of having things that they love taken away from them in order to change. It's the only way. People are far too comfortable. When I was in the hotel, one of the things that worked is I ended up leasing 2 cars, and I put myself under even more pressure. So as I advanced through that scenario, I just kept adding stressors into my life, because stress has nothing to do with the actual events. It has to do with your perception of them. And if you don't perceive them as things that can kill you or take you out, then you're much more likely to overcome. But the bigger key is that a lot of people are afraid to laugh at their misfortune. I am able, when I'm sitting in a pile of rubble, I'm able to fucking laugh, belly laugh at the situation, because once you realize you actually never die, no matter what happens to you, you don't really die. And if you do, you won't know anyway. So what is there to resist? What is there to hold back from? If you're gonna die, you won't know it regardless. You're just 100%. Gonna disappear. You know what I mean? So it's like, 100%. I think people need to take on a lot more pressure and a lot more stress just to figure out who they are. People don't even want to know who they are. They don't even want to know why they ended up the way that they are. And those are huge questions. And those are only questions that can be answered when you put your toes to the fire directly.
Oh, yeah. Rock bottom is a place where I think everyone should reach at least once in their life.
I mean, it's true. You look at guys like Zuckerberg, guys that are multi-billionaires that have these massive companies. I don't think those guys really crashed and burned the way that most people that are successful did. Because if they did crash and burn, there's no fucking way that they would allow themselves to be in that weak, feeble physical condition that they're in.
But a guy like Zuckerberg has probably been under way more pressure than most people could even fathom. He's probably been under pressure that if the average person had a glimpse of, they would crumble, absolutely crumble. And that's why Zuckerberg, an average person, is the average person. I mean, he's had multiple lawsuits. He's had governments try to sue him. He's had, people try to hack him. People try to destroy him. People want to kill him. He's still going. He doesn't care.
Still going. That's the thing, is when you get to the highest level of the game, you see these guys will purposely put themselves in tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter spots because it keeps you sharp. They love the game. There's no people that make billions of dollars. You never see them just disappear off the face of the earth and go to a private island. They're always taking on much more load, much more responsibility. And so if you're broke and you're poor, you need to have that same mentality. The only way you're going to grow and achieve insane things is to take on far more stress and far more pressure. And you don't need permission. Like the thing is like when you're first starting out, your brand is the madman. You're always going to start out an absolute madman. People are going to think you're a lunatic. And I think what happens is that guys, especially if you're an obsessive personality like I am, and you get involved in something in a very intense capacity, people will call you an addict, and people will want you to go into groups. People will want you to go into support groups and therapy. And once you tap out and once you enter those therapies, it's a wrap. It's game over, because you're never gonna get past the brand of being a madman. And you have to be comfortable being that in the beginning until you can redeem yourself. And the only way to redeem yourself is to achieve what you set out to do in the first place.
Yeah. I was reading an esoteric book yesterday called The Gospel of Thomas, and there was a line in it which was beautiful. It was like, what's inside you, if you don't let it out, will destroy you. But if you let it out, it will be the thing that makes you. So it's like you and I, we've both got what many would say addictive personalities. There's another alternative reality where if we never channeled it, if we never learned to control that inner beast, there's a chance that you and I would both be smoking crack right now, homeless. That same thing, which has been the catalyst for everything we have, all of our success, everything good in our life, is the same thing that destroys most people. But because we've learned how to
Dad invented the sliding glass window in the early 1900s. He got fucked over on the patent and was just a Renaissance man, rebuilt himself, developed this global real estate empire, left it for my mom when he died. So my mom was a baller growing up. So she had a very sharkish, sort of alpha personality from the jump. Zoom ahead to when I'm 8 years old. My parents divorced very early. and I took it very hard. I have a younger brother, and he was not impacted the same way I was from the divorce. So I became man of the house very quickly, right? I raised my little brother. We had zero, and when I mean zero, father figures, role models, any masculinity, any male figures in our life that we looked up to. It was just me and him riding thick as thieves. So I raised my little brother up into our teen years, got him involved in lifting, got him involved in training, nutrition, the whole gamut. Stepfather comes into the picture. My mom remarries, and I took it as an extreme assault and affront on my territory. I was extremely territorial. I was extremely hostile because I pretty much was man of the house. And this new dork comes into the picture and starts laying down the rule of the law. New sheriff in town. And so me and him locked horns routinely throughout my teen years. And I made it very uncomfortable on him because basically I was trying to run him out of the house. I was trying to make it so brutal. I was trying to make his experience so disgusting that you would have no choice but to leave. Because to me, it felt like, who the fuck is this stranger that's now encroaching on this little life that we have? Because we settled into a little enclave in Beverly Hills. It was just me, my brother, and my mom. So conflict after conflict, zoom ahead, I'm in high school, completely fucking jaded. I know every day I'm showing up to class that it's a complete fucking joke. I have zero interest. I'm malingering. I'm languid. I'm morose. I'm depressed. I have zero motivation to show up to another day of class. So senior year, I end up ditching over half the semester. I don't even fucking show up. My mom's out doing her thing, running the business. I'm at home in my pajamas, fucking around, trying to learn penny stocks. Because you got to keep in mind, I graduated in 2005. So online was still a very wild frontier. It was still very hard Scrabble. Very few killers had wedged themselves into the online space. It was still very new. Very few people were making money online. So you kind of had to do it the old fashioned way. You either had to trade stocks or you had to run and gun in other ways. So I'm senior year of high school. I'm ditching. I'm trying to teach myself the market, trying to flip some little bit of cash that I had, getting absolutely hammered and destroyed on a daily basis. Was reading books, had very strong reading comprehension, but I just sort of had this very wild style in the market where I was just extremely aggressive and I would get over my head in positions and not know how to cash out in time. So I'm 17 at this time. And you got to understand, my household is so sterile and it's so cold, and there's zero love anywhere in my house. Every day that I would actually show up to school and I would walk home, I cringed when I would get to my doorstep. I did not even want to walk inside. The energy was so frail, so weak. There was no backbone, there was no structure, there was no family sense of anything. There was fighting, screaming, yelling every single night of my life for years. The family would erupt in flames. We would all go to bed angry at each other, pissed off. Nobody got along. We had zero communication. It was a brutal living situation. And I was desperate to get out as soon as possible. Because you got to understand, when you don't have the patriarch and you lose your father early on to a divorce, the mom becomes the alpha male. So she's trying to play both roles. She's trying to be a mom and a dad. So she starts ruling with an iron fist. She starts making crazy rules. She starts trying to essentially be a male force. And it obviously doesn't work. It backfires considerably. And so me and my mom would just constantly fucking clash personalities. And it was getting really fucking bad. So essentially one day I come home and she gives me an ultimatum. And she's like, look, you're either going to go to college after high school full time, take a full semester of units, or you're going to get a full time job. You're going to work. You're going to get a minimum wage job. Keep in mind, we're living in a complete luxury environment. My mom's driving big body Benzes. She's getting new purses every week. She's balling out of control. She's taking trips to Hawaii. And she's over here telling me that I got to go get a minimum wage job or go to college, which I knew for a fact both of those paths were not for me from the jump. And so I was extremely fucking resistant, and I was extremely recalcitrant from the moment she gave me the ultimatum. So we were in a stalemate. Weeks had gone on. I never agreed to her terms. The pressure was mounting. Every day I was at home, she would come home and I could tell she was in a hideous mood, almost resentful that I was basically lounging in her house for free, not doing anything that she considered ambitious. So I'm sitting in my room and I could feel the energy. I could feel her stewing in the other room. She's stewing, she's boiling, her blood is fucking soaking that this young man is in her home and I'm not following the party line, because that's the only way she knew. She knew those two roads, and I knew that my path had to be a lot more aligned with my spirit. So I go on a skiing trip, and I had text communication with her. I said, listen, I'm going to be back around 1 a.m. I need you to keep the door open. 17 years old. I come home at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'll never forget this. I bust the door open. The TV's on. She's in the living room, and she looks very distressed. Her arms are akimbo. She's sitting Indian style, just looks extremely distressed. And she gets up, and she confronts me in the hallway, in the foyer. And she says, hey. She goes, look in the other room. I peek around the corner. All my bags are packed. Everything. Every belonging that I have is packed in the corner of the room. She goes, you're out of here. You're not living here anymore. Took one look at her, didn't argue, didn't start a fight, said no problem. Walked over, hucked a bunch of fucking bags on my back, walked out of the house at 1 o'clock in the morning. Nowhere to go, no family support, zero uncles, zero cousins. Our family was extremely shattered. I had no extended family to speak of. I had never met my uncles, never met my aunts, literally nobody to turn to. Grab my bags, walk out the door. Remember walking 2.5 miles to a park. Tried to get some sleep on a bench just till the morning twilight would come, and then I could figure something out. I was going to try to either couch surf on a friend's couch. I knew that the time was against me. Got the most brutal night's sleep you could possibly imagine. It was like that scene in Gladiator where Maximus is sleeping and he's got that fucking dagger drawn when Marcus Aurelius comes up to him at the side of the bed. That's how I was sleeping, with like one eye open. I was like, what are these creepy motherfuckers in the park going to do to me? It was fucking brutal. I was totally exposed to the open air. It was awful. Time came to a crawl. Next morning, I hobbled to the gym and I got a workout in. And I'm looking at what I got, and I had about $15,000 to my name saved up from little odd jobs that I had done, a couple little trades that I had executed. I had a little bit of a stash. And I was like, you know what? I was like, she disagrees with my lifestyle. She disagrees with my dream of being a professional trader, being a professional gambler, taking this off-color approach. I was like, fuck this. I was like, this is not a LARP. She thinks that my spirit is going to be beaten down so bad on this path that I'm going to have no choice but to come back, kiss the ring, and beg her for my bedroom back. And I knew that's the game she was playing. She was like, I'm basically going to fucking starve him out. It was war. It was war. She was like, I'm going to starve him out, send him to the street, and I guarantee you this motherfucker's going to come running back in 1 week, begging for a roof over his head. And he's going to comply to my terms. He's going to go to school. He's going to get a job. He's going to do normal shit. And there was 0% chance that I was going to let that happen. Because to me, the only way I could interpret that chess move that she made was she's trying to kill me. She is sending me to the wolves. Keep in mind, I had zero tools, no vehicle, nowhere to go, no family to turn to. I'm in the fucking street. Totally unprepared, totally thrown for a loop. I was not prepared for this. And I decided in that moment that I would never crawl back, ever. I would die. I would sooner die than ever fucking give up my dream of living the life that I wanted for myself. I was never going to donate 4 years to college, which I knew for a fact if I did it, I would have had a great life. I would have had housing, shelter, food provided for. She probably would have gotten me a whip. But if I went to college, I was going to waste 4 precious years of my early 20s And even worse, when I got out of college, I knew that I was just going to be groomed to be an employee. I knew I would have to go work another fucking job that I hated anyway. So it just wasn't an option. There was 0% chance that I was willing to embark on that journey. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to Vegas and I'm going to fire every motherfucking dollar in my pocket at the sports book. And when I got there, I can't even express the animosity, the chip I had on my shoulder. When I shoved those stacks of cash through the window on my first sports bet, it felt like I was firing at the world. It didn't even feel like I was firing at the book itself. I was firing rockets into the abyss. Because I was like, you know what? I'm going to fucking prove everybody wrong. I'm going to make this happen. Not hard to discern what probably happens next. Of course, I got flatlined because I was arrogant. I was cocky. I got completely destroyed at the sports book. And it was one of the most brutal flights back home that I'll ever remember. I had to beg a childhood friend of mine to book me a flight home. And I was completely humiliated. And on the flight home, it was an empty flight back from Vegas to LA. I just remember looking out the window. And I just remember just reinforcing in my mind. I was like, you know what? I will take the situation that I'm in 100 times out of 100 times because I'm a free man right now. There's nobody breathing down my neck, nobody fucking enforcing rules. I'm free. I'm in charge of my destiny in this moment. I know when I land in LA, I got nowhere to sleep. I got nowhere to go. I don't even know where I'm getting my next meal, but I'm free. Nobody's going to fucking steer me in any kind of direction. No one's going to influence me one way or the other. I'm in charge. And that was a very relieving epiphany. Very relieving. And ironically, losing my bedroom, losing my home, losing my family it took the world off my shoulders. It gave me so much relief. Even if I had to go sleep in a bush, I would have taken it because I was so desperate to extricate myself from the fucking turmoil at home and the constantly butting heads with people who had different morals and values than I did. So I get back to LA, and you got to understand, when you're homeless and you don't have anywhere to go, when you're in that survival mode, you end up running into very seedy characters. You end up running into the proverbial trolls under the bridge. Just very dark, very conflicted personalities kind of gravitate to you because they know they can kind of sense that there's some like looming desperation in your heart. And so I would meet really fucked up people, and I learned a code of ethics. I learned that the most fucked up people who were the most damaged, who had very checkered pasts, had my fucking back harder than my own family. The loyalty, the way that people would extend themselves to get me a meal when all I fucking needed after a hard day's training was just some fucking sustenance. So I come back to LA. The wheels screech on the tarmac. I get off the plane. I got nowhere to fucking go. So where do I go? First stop, the gym. Because you have to understand, when you have nothing and your belongings and your identity has been stolen from you or taken from you, you're never a loser until you quit. And you're particularly never a loser until you give up on yourself. And I never let myself go. I never let my grooming go. I never got out of shape. I was in peak fucking condition. I was a fucking animal. I was lifting retarded sums of weights. I was in phenomenal fucking shape. I looked great. I looked healthy. Had a fucking full head of hair. Skin was on point. So when you have that going for you and you have that self-image and that identity that's strongly rooted in some kind of performance, people take appeal to that. People look at that and they're like, you know what? This guy's struggling. He's fucked right now. It's very evident, but he's going places because he hasn't quit on himself. You know what I mean? I didn't grow those greasy ass sideburns. I kept my kicks clean. My soles on my shoes were always sterling white. I never let myself fall apart during the process. And that's a very, very important distinction because a lot of people, when they face adversity, they let themselves go They let one wheel fall off, and then they let the second wheel fall off, and then soon every fucking wheel's off the vehicle, and then you're fucked. So once that first wheel came off, I knew I had to keep the rest of the wheels on if I had any fighting chance at all. So I end up meeting this random black dude at Whole Foods after a workout session. I had begged some guy at the gym for $20 so I could go get a chuck steak, which is the cheapest cut. It's the shoulder of the cow. It's typically, people don't like it because it's very chewy. It's very tough. It tastes kind of like a shoehorn. And so I'm eating this fucking tough shoehorn, leathery fucking beef every day. It's like $3 a pound just to get by. And I meet this very interesting character at Whole Foods who ends up being a football coach. He ends up being one of the most talented football coaches in the state of California. And he was at a nearby college. And he had done 15 years in prison for a very, very serious crime that he had committed. And he was a very temperamental, hostile personality, complete sociopath. Took a liking to him, started hanging out with him every day. The next day after I met him, I told him my situation. I told him that I was homeless. I had no place to sleep, no place to go. He gives me the key to his office at the college after knowing him for one day. And he's like, listen, I'm putting my reputation at risk. I'm putting my livelihood at risk. He's like, you need to wait until 10 p.m. every night. There's 24-hour patrol on the college campus. You have to hop the fence, climb through the forestry, climb down the hill. The football stadium was built like an amphitheater around this very forested area. You need to climb down the bleachers, go into my office. He's like, you need to sleep there at night, and in the morning, get the fuck out by 6 a.m. when all the players come back in and the coaches come in to do the players' laundry and shit. So this dude gives me the keys. First night, I'm climbing like Rambo through the fucking forestry, trying to figure out how to get into this place. And obviously, he laid the ground rules when I was inside the fortress. So basically, I had to sleep in the concrete locker room, and his office was next door. And it was sweltering heat, 120 degrees in the fucking summer. And if you know anything about concrete, you know concrete does not dissipate heat. It's actually a conductor. So it's 120 outside. It's like a fucking sauna. It's like 140 degrees inside the concrete structure that I was in. So then I'm sleeping on the concrete floor. No blanket, no pillow. Had to tiptoe through the night. Couldn't flick on a single light because the patrol outside would see through the windows that the light was on. So I'm doing this every night. And I'm strangely liberated from my circumstances in this moment. I am strangely inspired because every night that I closed my eyes and laid down on the concrete, I was like, am I at least giving this my all? Am I a fucking quitter? And every day that I would wake up and have life and draw a breath in the air, I would realize that it wasn't that bad. It wasn't near as bad as being a faker, as being a fucking charlatan and pretending and going on this path to please my fucking parent, to make my mom happy and donate my soul. I was like, I will take this every day of the fucking week. All I got to do is wake up the next day, hobble to the gym, tired, beaten up. And I was like, I know if my presentation stays on point and I stay fit and I don't let myself fall apart, I will meet the right person who's going to help me get involved in business. I know for a fact it's either going to be a woman or it's going to be a man. Someone is going to lend me a helping hand because I refuse to give up. After about 5 weeks of staying in the concrete structure, I had never had an issue until one night. One night, I walk into the structure, same routine. I'm waiting for the little car with the lights, the little police officer who patrols the property. I wait for his lights to disappear from view. I come down the hill. I enter the building. I go to sleep. 1 o'clock in the morning, I got to take a wicked piss. So I get up and I go into the bathroom. And when I walk into the bathroom this time, I noticed that they installed a motion sensor light. So the entire fucking fortress just lights up with fluorescent light. And it is bathed in light. Very, very that strong hospital-esque white light. And I'm like, fuck. So I run out of the bathroom and I'm praying that because my presence is no longer there, the light's going to flick off in like 30 seconds. Shit won't fucking turn off. So I'm sitting there and my heart is bursting out of my chest. I'm like, someone's going to fucking see that there's somebody in here at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, this is not going to fucking end well. So I go back into the fucking locker room and I'm trying to just relax and stay calm. And I'm like, I need that fucking light to turn off. About a minute goes by and the light finally flicks off. And I'm like, I'm good. So I lay down, I'm going to sleep. 10 minutes later, I hear a monstrous thundering on the metal. There's this huge metal garage door that opened from the locker room, and you would go out the garage door, and there was a path that led down to the stadium. I hear banging on the metal door, and they're like, this is the police. You need to come out right now, or we're going to bust down the door. So I'm yelling at them from the other side of the thing. I'm like, listen, I'm unarmed. I'm coming out the side door. Don't shoot. I'm coming out. I'm helping my buddy who's a coach here. They're like, sir, you need to get the fuck out of there right now or we are going to bust down the door. I open the door, hands up. These dudes throw me on the fucking pavement on my stomach, jump on top of me. Guns are in my fucking face. It's four police officers. They're like, what the fuck are you doing here? I was like, I'm helping out with the fucking team. I'm doing laundry for my boy. And there was like, I'm doing some assistant work. It made zero sense, but I was on the spot and I had to come up with something. So they call him. And I was very lucky that he answered the phone because it was like 1:30 in the morning. And he came down there and he smoothed over the whole situation and told him that I was his assistant, that I was helping him work some of his booklets and helping him run plays for the next season, and that he had given me the key to just do some assistant work for him. They end up letting me go. And they said, sir, do not ever come back here again. You are obviously not allowed in this building whatsoever, especially after hours. So understand, it's now 1:30 in the morning. I am exhausted. I am so beaten to a bloody pulp. And now I got to walk my ass and do the walk of shame on the fucking concrete, walk out of the campus at 1:30 in the morning with nowhere to go yet again. I have nowhere to fucking go. So I end up staying up again till 5 o'clock in the morning, completely besides myself. I am so distraught. I'm so fucking confused. I'm so flustered. I'm so filled with rage, quite frankly, at my situation. I don't have a pot to piss in. I don't even have enough money for a fucking motel. So the next morning, I hobble and stoop into the gym, and I randomly approach a trainer there who I did not know well. But I had a very good reputation at the gym because I was the strongest athlete there by far. And every time I would go in there and do my Olympic lifts, it was a spectacle. Motherfuckers would give me accolades and praise for my talent, blah, blah, blah. So I was a known face at the gym. Everybody knew who I was. So I walk up to this trainer who I didn't know from Tom, Dick, or Harry. And I was like, listen, brother, I was like, here's my situation. It's extremely fucking stark. I was like, I just need a helping hand. I was like, I need somebody to come through for me right now because I am at my wit's end. And I was like, my back is so against the wall right now. I don't know where I'm going to go. He's like, listen, I'm off here at 5 o'clock today. He's like, you can just float around the gym, do whatever you need to do, use the shower. He was like, I'm going to take you to go get a hearty meal. He's like, you can crash in my second bedroom for a couple of days to get your head right and figure out what your next move is. Couldn't believe it. A fucking stranger, an absolute fucking stranger who I'd never been in a situation where I had to rely on a good Samaritan for support. This dude's showing me more love and more compassion, more empathy than anybody in my family ever did. This motherfucker's opening his front door to me. It was a major blessing. So he took me, I got a nice steak that night, slept on his fucking floor in the second bedroom. He didn't even have a mattress in there. But I was just so fucking grateful. The simplest little things in those moments almost bring a fucking tear to your eye. When you're just sleeping on fucking hardwood and you realize that a person who doesn't owe me anything at all, could have completely told me to go fuck myself, is letting me invade his personal space and completely disrupt the rhythm of his life to show a young, ambitious man some fucking compassion. Just absolutely extraordinary how strangers, the people you would never expect in this world to have your back, will come through for you when you need it most, when it's a genuine need. So I got the best night's sleep of my life, and I recovered pretty well in the next 48 hours because he fed me. The next morning, I met him back at the gym. Dude bought me beef jerky, bought me some hard-boiled eggs, just keeping me alive. I had met this other 40-year-old woman at Whole Foods that I had her number. She's a woman who had asked me for health advice just from seeing her in the store being a regular. And I had forgotten that I had her number. And she was semi-attractive. She was a former supermodel in her early 20s, but she was 40, so she was a little bit beat up and a little bit washed. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to get involved in this. But I had no choice. So 2 days later, I called her. And out of the blue, I didn't fucking know this woman at all. We had just had some spontaneous conversations with inside the store. I told her my situation. I said, listen, I need some serious fucking support right now. I said, I got nowhere to go. I said, I need a headquarters. I need a command center to rebuild my life right now. And I was like, I am literally begging you for an opportunity to just get a couple weeks of rest because I'm losing my mind at this point. I'm completely losing my mind. I'm operating at a frenetic pace. I'm lifting to max every day, strong as shit. You got to understand, some days I would go to the gym and I only had one meal for the entire day. I was fasted. I was underhydrated. I had no supplements, no fucking minerals, no vitamins, nothing. And I'm still putting up numbers because I was just fucking relentless. And so I told her the situation. And again, a good Samaritan out of the motherfucking blue. She's like, absolutely no problem. She's like, come over right now. I'll take care of you. Gives me her address. I go over there. Trainer gives me a ride. And this turned into a wild fucking saga. Because what I did is I did the most rookie move that you never do. But I didn't realize it at the time. Is that you never, ever fuck your landlord. Ever. And you never have sex with a woman who's helping you get out of a spot. Because it creates a ton of fucking emotional bonds and it adds an extra layer of complication that's very fucking hard to get out of. So I'm a fucking rookie. I show up at this chick's house first night. I fuck her. Next morning, you can't even make this shit up. She's professing her love to me. She's like, you're the perfect man for me. She's like, I could see myself marrying you. Tells me she loves me. I didn't know. I've had fucking 5 conversations with this woman. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Misery. I was like, is this going to turn into like Kathy Bates? I was like, this woman's going to fucking like try to fucking keep me hostage and prisoner in her home. I was like, what kind of can of worms did I just open here? But I fucking needed the rest. I needed it. I had no choice. So I was like, there was a meta game here, right? There's some game theory here. I'm like, you know what? I need to be pleasant and I need to also reciprocate. This woman is kind enough to bring me into her home and let me stay here. Keep in mind, she filled the fridges with the highest quality steaks, raw milk, eggs. She cooked for me every fucking day. She would massage me every night to bed. She would literally climb into bed with me and fucking massage me till 5 o'clock in the morning after my hard days of training. And that's all I was doing. All I was doing was training and trying to fucking meet the right people and figure out what my next business move was. So it gets insane. So one night, she's completely head over heels for me, by the way. And I didn't have a pot to piss in. And she's professing her love to me more and more. And my biggest mistake as a rookie was I stopped fucking her. And you can't do that. Once you fuck her, you have to continue, especially when she's providing for you, because you have to, like I said, you have to create that reciprocation. So I withdrew myself and pulled back and decided to make her more of a friend. And it created a ton of fucking tension. So one night, I'm standing on the corner of Whole Foods with this other beautiful young 19-year-old chick that I had just met, ironically at the same Whole Foods. And I'm making out with this girl on the corner. And I get a very creepy feeling for some reason, almost like someone was watching me. And I look over my shoulder, and this woman is in her car. Lights are turned off. She's across the street, and she's staring at me from across the street, making out with this chick. And I'm like, here we go. I know where this is headed. Flicks on the lights once she sees that I saw her. Speeds up to me, rolls down the window, and goes, what are you doing? So I walk up to her and I dissociate myself from the girl that I was with for a second. And I stick my head through the window and I was like, yo, you need to get the fuck out of here. I said, this is very creepy. I said, you do not come up on me in my personal space and my personal time when I'm outside of your house. And she was like, no, you don't understand. She's like, you can't live in my house and be fucking around with other women. So she lays down this ultimatum on me that was fucking insane. And I was put on the spot. So I end up leaving. I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I can't live under these kind of rules or this kind of fucking tyranny. Even though this woman has been so fucking good to me, I was like, I cannot fucking conform and get in a relationship with a 40-year-old woman. So this girl that I was with on the corner had a car. And we end up driving to the beach that night. And we stayed up for 24 hours. Did all kinds of crazy shit on the beach together. Had sex with her. It was a wild fucking night. Next morning, I'm invigorated. I'm just like, I'm on a fucking wild adventure. I just got kicked out of this chick's house because I got caught making out with her. I still got nowhere to go. This girl lived with her parents, so she can't fucking move me in. And then the miracle happened. 2 days later, let me back up. I texted the woman, the 40-year-old woman, the next morning, and we had a 2-hour conversation on the phone, and she agreed to let me back in the house. She was like, look, she's like, I don't have the heart to kick you out. I know you're really struggling. She was like, but you seriously cannot disrespect me while you're in my home and you can't sleep with other women. Very reasonable request. I could completely understand it because I was under her roof. So I go back to her for 2 days, and I had met a guy at the gym about a year before that. And I had also been putting out feelers with him and trying to do some business. He was one of the biggest credit card processors in the country. And so he would handle huge merchants and he would do all the processing for them and he would get a huge fee for that. And he needed to place some accounts. And he needed someone with a valid driver's license and a valid bank account. And at the time, I was a perfect candidate because I was green. I didn't really have much credit, but I had wide open bank accounts to start receiving some of the wires that he needed. Because if you do too much volume in credit card processing, they shut you down. So he's like, listen, he's like, I'm going to run a bunch of these wires through your account. He's like, I'm going to give you a monster commission. Don't worry. I was like, no problem. Let's do it. Open an account for him. 2 days later, after this whole saga with the chick that blew up, he calls me and he's like, yo, you got a $50,000 commission. Couldn't fucking believe it. Almost wanted to fucking cry. I literally could not believe that after losing my entire ass in Vegas, within a 10-day period, I'm already back on the saddle and I got 50K. When you're 18 years old, I'm pretty sure I was 18. When you're 18 years old and you get $50,000, it feels like you just won the fucking lottery. This money was a windfall that came out of the fucking heavens for me. So I take the money and I get my own rental car. And now I got wheels. And now I got food. And now I'm back in the fucking game. And the whole fucking process starts churning over again. I'm still at this woman's house. She's still fucking being good to me, but I could slowly see the tension. She was starting to get resentful that I was living under her roof because I was a wild man. I would go out late at night, come home at 1 o'clock in the morning. She's like, what are you doing? Let me see your phone. I was like, there is 0% chance you're going through my phone. And she was like, well, you're living in my house. It started to get that. It started to get real shitty, real pissy, like tit for tat. I'm doing this for you, so you need to do this for me. It became very fucking transactional, which wears a wild man down. I'm not built for that kind of conformity. I'm just not built for it. So, long story short, a couple weeks go by, then a month goes by, and this chick that I had slept with on the beach gets pregnant. And I'm broke, she's broke, and we 100% agreed. We're like, you have to get an abortion. So I get her the fucking abortion pill, and I still got I got a nice chunk of money left over from the 50K that I had got. And I was like, listen, I'm going to take you to Vegas. I'm going to put you up in the best suite for 2 days. You're going to take your medicine. I was like, I'm going to feed you. I'm going to take good care of you, but you need to just be in bed for 2 days. I was like, I got unfinished business here. So I fly her out to Vegas with the pill. Give her the pill. I don't know if you guys have ever been with a woman who takes that abortion pill. It is a fucking nightmare. It was one of the most horrifying experiences that I've ever been a part of. And this chick was Eastern European, stoic, cold, strong, and durable as fuck. And she was completely coming apart at the seams when she took this medicine because it obviously dispels and it forces whatever's in you out. She was keeled over, holding her belly, crying tears that I've never seen a human being cry before, just in absolute agony and misery. And there was nothing I could do. She was inconsolable. And this happened. This was a 24-hour straight brutal process. And I'm out there firing on games. I'm chain smoking cigs. I got my buddy who was much older than me, who met me in Vegas. He would run my action for me because I wasn't 21. So I would give him cash. He would go run my action through the windows. I'm betting at this time when I'm 18, I'm betting like 7,000 a game, which at the time felt like a tremendous amount of money on a sports bet. So I've got this girl with me. I still got the pad at home. And everything's starting to kind of look up because I got my swagger back. I got a little bit of money in the bank. I'm firing. I got this girl that I'm taking care of. She's loyal. She's sticking by my side. She's willing to do anything for me as well. Come back to town after the weekend. Go back to the woman's house. And the woman that I was staying with had started to play these strange little games where she would hide my keys to the rental car that I had because she wanted attention. So it would be like she would like make these fake little hunts within the house where we would have to like find my keys. And I knew that she was fucking hiding them. But I was like, I just have to fucking participate a couple more weeks until I can get the fuck free out of the situation that I'm in. And every time I was there, she would try to sleep with me. She'd try to kiss up on me. And I was very fucking withdrawn. I did not want to touch her. I didn't want anything to do with her. I wanted her as a friend, which is a very difficult expectation to put on a woman who's providing for you and disrupting her life. But I was way too immature to grasp that at the time. I was actually a fucking dickhead to her. And it was completely unacceptable and very fucked up behavior on my part. But I didn't have the wherewithal to see it at the time. So I continue to disrespect her within the context of her rules in her house. I'm still seeing other chicks. Now my ex is involved. Now I'm sleeping with my ex. So now I've got I'm in a huge tryst with 3 women at once. And I still have nothing, still have nowhere to go, still have no stability. All of this to tell you that every fucking morning I woke up with all of this drama, all of this chaos. The world felt like it was just squeezing me. I was still free. I was still free because I could have walked away from it at any moment in time and just hobbled my way back into the gym, which was my only sanctuary at the time. The only fucking place I could turn to when I had nobody or nothing was the shower at the gym, the iron, and the good blessings and good care of a couple good Samaritans who had my back. And I tell you all of this because the chaos that I was enduring and the chaos that I had intentionally subjected myself through, when you are in survival mode, you become an adrenaline junkie. Your adrenaline is redlined 24/7. And I've never quite come down from it. To this day, it's 17 years later. I still have to extricate myself and pull myself out of situations where I want to go back and feel that sting and feel that chaos of instability. Because at the end of the day, I know that you could take every fucking thing away from me, but you cannot take me from me. And that's what I realized in those most hopeless moments when I had nowhere to go, is I realized that you could take it all, but you ain't going to take my identity away from me. And that's pretty much the only fucking true stability you have, is that notion. There's no other there's nothing else on earth that can actually give you that stability and give you that feeling of self-confidence than knowing that you are a fucking survivor and that you are willing to do anything, including blow up your whole life. I didn't care how many times it took, how many iterations of myself that I had to recreate. I was never in a million years ever going to go bend the knee and go live somebody else's life to get a pat on the back. Because to me, that was a far worse fate than death itself. There are way, way more hopeless, disparaging, and malevolent ways to live a life than death. Death for a lot of people is actually liberation from the situations that they cannot stand. And every day that I would wake up from that situation and I would just slowly put one foot in front of the other, one fucking day at a time. Sometimes it was 1 minute at a time. It was so fucking tough to even dream or think about tomorrow or yesterday. It was just about, where am I going to get my next meal? Where am I going to rest my head tonight? And when your life is that simple and you are aligned with your spirit, I was happy. That's the bizarre part about it. I had never faced so much happiness and genuine joy waking up every day than just being involved in the jeopardy and chaos of the whole thing, because I was living out my own destiny. I was creating my story. I was no longer beholden to fake authorities in the form of bosses, in the form of your parents. It's all a joke. Teachers, professors, it's all fake. It's all fake. And when you show Freddy Krueger that you're no longer scared of him, he disappears from your fucking dreams. All the authority around you is fucking fake. Your boss doesn't really have that much fucking power over you. You're playing a game. You're playing a role. And that's the one thing that I've learned more than anything, is every motherfucker is playing a role with every cast of characters that are involved in their life. And it is completely up to you to choose what role you are playing. One of the best sayings I've ever heard is, there are no victims, there are only volunteers. And I die by that principle. There are no victims, there are only volunteers. People sign up for the relationships, they train the people around them how to treat them. It's all by design. Even if you have been victimized, understand that you played a role. You decided. You have a choice every fucking day to be who you want to be. And that's where I got my mantra that there is nothing more powerful than self-reinvention. Because you can reinvent yourself at any given moment that you choose. You can walk away and give a cold shoulder to all the fake authority in your life and live out your destiny. And my story is one of complete triumph, because I pushed through the mud for years. It took me years after that experience. And that's just one tip of the iceberg from the heartbreak and catastrophe that I have experienced on my way to some semblance of stability, which is still fucking hard for me, because I think stability is a fucking illusion. The only fucking solace that I get nowadays is in my own strength and in my solitude. That's it. There ain't anything else that you can fall back on. When the chips are down and you're in a true crisis situation, it ain't your money that's going to bail you out. Your money, if you're in a true crisis, if you're in a true emotional crisis, your money will 100% metastasize and make that situation worse. I'll tell you why. Because you're going to use the money and try to spend your way out of it. And when you do that, you miss the fucking tough lessons. You miss the fucking whole gist of life and what it's all about. It's all about sitting with yourself in those moments and staying fucking true to your path, because all the answers are in the fucking mirror. That's it. There is no human on earth has the answers for you. They're in the mirror. And it's really fucking hard for somebody to look in that mirror, because you are horrified at what you've become and the things that you are denying in your spirit. You cannot be successful on this planet if you deny and you constantly suppress and push down your interests and desires. I tweeted about this the other day. The most faggoty fucking gay thing you can do as a man is to hide, obscure, and disguise what you are truly interested in this life to make any other motherfucker happy. I don't care if it's your kid. I don't care if it's Christ himself. You have an obligation to yourself to live out your destiny. Parents do not have children so that their children can be clones of them. You have a child so your child can have its own unique experience. I am a father. I have a 18-month-old baby. And my mission is to allow him to have his own fucking unique experience and not be anything like me if he doesn't so choose. My job is to guide, and that's all I can do. But I will not overstep that boundary because it was done to me, and it is extremely fucking destructive. And I'm one of the lucky ones because I never quit and I never gave up. But you are only a fucking loser once you quit. Once you quit. That's why, and I'll use an extreme example. We all heard about that Denver shooter, that dude Roman McClay. I read his book. That was one of the best books I've ever read. Dead serious. That book is phenomenal. That dude was a gigabrain. But you have to understand something. His actions are so beta and so gay because what it is, when you harm other people in the way that he harmed people and you flip out and you lose your cool, what you've done is you've demonstrated that you have an incapacity to play the game. The game beat you. We live in a fucking capitalist society. It's an all-encompassing system. It's not just an economic thing. We live in a capitalist society when it comes to women. Everything is a marketplace. And when you flip out and you exact revenge on people like that dumbass motherfucker did, you have to understand that it is the most bitch behavior that you could possibly exhibit. I heard a couple of retards on Twitter saying that dude was alpha. Like, where on planet Earth is that alpha behavior? That's a guy who got defeated by the game, couldn't win, got his ass kicked, and so took it out on a bunch of other people. And my process has taught me to respect the motherfucking game over everything else. Because the game is all you have, and guess what? You're forced to play it whether you want to or not. Every lifestyle you choose, you're playing the game. Even if you decide to be a fucking slob on unemployment, sitting on your couch, watching soap operas all day, you still gotta play the game. So why not give it your best motherfucking shot with the very brief snapshot of time that you have on this planet? Why wouldn't you see how far you could possibly go and how far you could take it? How hard you could drive your body? Do you understand how durable your body is? How fucking durable the human brain is? Extremely fucking durable. It can withstand incredible amounts of pain, devastation, catastrophe. And a lot of you motherfuckers aren't even giving it a fair fucking shot. Not even giving it a fair fucking shot. So the game comes first. And you have to fucking respect the game. Because you are a player. You hit the ground running when you were born, and there's no way to stop running. So play it as hard as you can, as earnestly as you can. Because if you can't prove to anybody that you can play the game, then everything that you do ends up as a fucking cope. That's why I always say, if you become an ascetic monk, if you become a meditator, if you become a yogi, all those things are fucking great. But beat the game first. Find a threshold of success. And then it's fucking cool to run off to the mountains, to the hot springs, and go meditate and fuck with monks for a month. Because you're rich. You beat the game. You proved it. But if you haven't proven that you can play it, that you can make money, that you can be financially independent, that you can help other people, that you can give other people opportunities, that you can be influential, that you can be a leader, then what the fuck are you doing sitting in a meditative stance all day contemplating the cosmos? You lost. You lost.